Imagine a man whose warm southern drawl and towering frame have become as recognizable to millions of Americans as the warm clapboard homes he revives. One project at a time, this man restores hope rather than merely rebuilding houses. Ben Napier, the adored face of HGTV's popular series Hometown, is that man. Ben and his equally bright and vivacious wife, Erin Napier, have quietly carved themselves into the hearts of people all throughout the country for more than 7 spectacular seasons. The modest streets of Laurel, Mississippi have been turned into a national icon of small-town revitalization, a place where history and passion collide and where there is a tale to be found around every corner. However, this kind behemoth has disappeared from TV screens lately. Supporters are concerned. The quiet has become unbearable. Rumors of sickness, personal sorrow, and disturbing incidents have begun to spread. Ben Napier, what happened to him? What caused the guy who dedicated his life to restoring abandoned houses to abruptly vanish from the public eye? This mystery has a complex backstory that includes not only health issues or fame weariness, but also deeply ingrained family beliefs, spiritual struggles, peer pressure, and a terrifying event that completely altered everything. This goes beyond a simple career update. In this tale, a man finds himself torn between the gloom of reality and the warmth of his fantasies. Stories that remind us of celebrity might shake foundations, but they can also construct homes. The beginning of Ben Napier's trip was not in front of the cameras. Before he became well known as the bearded craftsman who transformed dilapidated buildings into ideal houses, Ben was deeply involved in a completely different line of work that required faith and sermons rather than wood and nails. Ben was brought up in a home where both of his parents served as preachers, and he was born into a pious Christian family. He learned to live a life of service, humility, and devotion at a young age. Religion was life, not only a component of it. Naturally, Ben followed the spiritual road that was set for him as a young man and joined the Methodist Church as a youth preacher. But beneath the surface, another passion, one that smelled of fresh wood and sawdust, was silently blossoming. He had a long history of working with wood. Even although he was employed at the church, he would spend his weekends creating exquisitely restored items out of scraps and abandoned furniture in his tiny workshop. It was expression, it was therapy, and it was calling him more and more each day. Meeting Erin, a graphic designer with a keen eye and a soul similar to his, was the true turning point in his life. They didn't simply fall in love. They worked together to build a relationship, one brick at a time, with a common goal and desire. When HGTV approached them with the concept for Hometown, they regarded it as a mission rather than a job opportunity, to highlight the value of maintaining culture and community, the elegance of Southern living, and the strength of restoration. What started off as a small-town concert swiftly became a national sensation. Erin's inventiveness and Ben's laid-back disposition made the ideal combination. Fans were captivated by the Napiers' genuine healthy vitality, as well as the changes they underwent. Although their handshakes and grins were captured on camera, few were aware of the private struggles Ben was going through behind the scenes. Ben Napier may have been a reassuring television character with his bear-like hugs and welcoming grin, but as the years passed, his health started to show a different picture. Ben had always been a huge guy and had made jokes about his size, a lot. His physical state and weight, however, had become a ticking time bomb in private. The strain of maintaining a brand as cherished as Hometown, years of hard manual labor, long hours on refurbishment projects, and sleepless nights during filming started to show. Ben's weight soared by 2014, and he began to experience severe health issues. It was a struggle every morning. Once able to lift beams with ease, the man now found it difficult to perform simple tasks. However, fatherhood, rather than a medical diagnosis, was the true wake-up call. Everything changed the instant he met his daughter Helen's eyes. He understood that if he kept going in this direction, he might not live to see her pursue her ambitions or walk her down the aisle. No health fear could ever penetrate the depths of that one concept. Ben changed drastically. He developed a strict routine, placing a treadmill in place of his favorite tools and exchanging bacon for greens. He lost more than 55 pounds via sheer willpower. More significantly, he found life and vitality again. His tale served as motivation for many, demonstrating that even the busiest, most troubled people can decide to change rather than give up. However, a much more sinister threat was emerging, not from within but from the outside, just as Ben was starting to put himself back together. A shadow that would permanently alter the Napier family's way of life hung over them just as they were starting to enjoy the success and improved health. When a strange man was sighted close to their home, it initially appeared to be an isolated incident. Ben dismissed it, never neurotic, but always on guard. However, the interactions continued. The man, who was said to be from California and was in his 50s, started to appear more frequently. He had an ankle band suggesting some troubling legal history and donned odd clothing, sometimes resembling a Star Wars stormtrooper. He didn't merely lurk, he became obsessed, particularly with Ben's little daughter. When this man, who hardly had any furnishings in his leased house, arrived with toys especially for Helen, it was the last straw. All illusions of safety were broken in that moment. He posed a threat in addition to being a fan. Ben, who had always been a calm person, was now overcome by a worry that all parents have: the fear that you won't be able to safeguard their child. They called security. The family's happy house changed into a fortified fortress, and they started to live under surveillance. When the man allegedly followed the family nanny on a trip and made offensive comments in front of the kids, the situation became more heated. After informing the authorities, an official investigation was launched as a result of several community complaints. Just as mysteriously as he had appeared, the man disappeared. However, the psychological wounds persisted. The stress almost shattered them, and Erin was 9 months pregnant at the time. The Napier family has now been extremely discreet, avoiding some public appearances and hardly ever revealing their kids' faces. Although fame had given them a platform, it had also allowed darkness to enter their lives. The Napier family hoped for serenity after enduring the horror of a stalker and enduring heavy media attention. However, Ben was not yet finished being tested by fate. A persistent shoulder soreness turned into a crippling condition when years of physically taxing carpentry caught up with him. The discomfort worsened, even though I hoped it would go away on its own. It eventually got so bad that Ben found it difficult to carry his everyday duties. The man who used his bare hands to build houses was suddenly unable to do so. He had a serious bone spur and cartilage damage, according to the doctors, thus surgery was not only required, but urgent. Surgeons had to cut down bone and fix damaged tissues during the intrusive treatment. Recuperation was difficult. For weeks, Ben was confined to his bed and needed ongoing assistance and physical treatment. But it was in this lonely, vulnerable period that Ben found thankfulness again, something he had nearly forgotten. Life doesn't wait for the right moment. It tests you when you least expect it, and it's up to you to respond to it with courage or giving up. Ben started his comeback with the steadfast help of Erin, his daughters, and a committed staff. He gradually got back into the realm of remodeling, beginning with minor tasks before tackling complete house makeovers once more. Even though he doesn't appear as often on talk shows or magazine covers these days, Ben is happier than ever. He has opted for significance over momentum, solitude over publicity, and balance over burnout. His tale is a potent reminder that even the most resilient people must take a moment to think, reevaluate, and rebuild. As fans, we frequently only witness the polished, edited versions of our favorite celebrities. However, Ben Napier's path teaches us what it really means to be human, full of faith, fear, family, and great persistence. Thus, keep Ben in mind the next time you pass a comfortable house or inhale the aroma of new wood. Not only as a television personality, but also as a parent, a warrior, and a guy who prioritized his family over all else and love over notoriety.